Hi and welcome to another one of the Tech Geeks videos. All right, we get so many questions asked about Starlink that we thought the best thing to do was to get our own setup, set it up here as an example, show you some of the bits here. Look, this is not meant to be a big technical overview because there are plenty of people out there that know way more than I do and the stuff here about Starlink. We're more interested in showing you the basics and then how you can use what you've got here to extend the Wi-Fi in your property or maybe to another building or even out to your watering holes, your boreholes or anything else like that. So many of you probably have been sent your lovely big Starlink box, maybe not in quite as good condition as that. I know that some people have had these received pretty bashed up and everything. Also, for many of you, you'll know that you don't often receive a new one of these now. Mine was definitely refurbed, it was dirty on the back and everything else, so I just cleaned it up, but it doesn't stop the functionality of it. But what we want to just show you is the key components that you need, firstly to get this set up, and then how to make a few changes so that you can then add on other vendors' equipment. Just a quick overview, what is Starlink? All right, so when I started maybe 25 years ago, we used to do satellite installations, you know, a 2-meter dish, you needed a lining tool, line it up to only 1 or 2 different satellites. You maybe would get 5 or 8 megasecond download speed. You'd need to use your normal modem at 64K to get an upload, just down a normal route, like over the internet in a normal way. Now we have moved to the point where Starlink has thousands of satellites in low orbit around the world, all right, and each one of those can give internet access for a specific area of the planet below it, which is really, really exciting because we can see speeds of hundreds of megasecond from this. They can be used on the top of recreation vehicles. You can be top of your homestead, out on your farm, watching crops, wherever you can think about finding internet connectivity. All right, now a new world has opened up. All right, so your request for your web page or whatever you're going to is going to leave this dish that's going to be lined up to one of the closest satellites. It's going to head up, hit that satellite. That satellite is going to bounce it back down to a ground station. So here in Australia, in each state, there's at least one ground station. That ground station then carries it over normal fiber connections to the rest of its destination. All right, so really what we're doing is we're using the satellite for the shortest amount of time possible. Now, you don't get much in the box. There isn't a need for much. You're going to get your dish, all right, you're going to get your router, all right, and you're going to get essentially some cables, about 29 meters I think it is of cable, all right, and your power cable. That is really all you need. Now, we're not going to help you install this, but what you really want to do is go to the website Installers Near Me, all right, and they have a list of installers across Australia that have got cable certifications. They can mount this up on the right place, pointing in the right direction for you. And if you buy other equipment from us or work with them, we work for many installers across Australia, they can also mount that additional wireless equipment at the same time. So, all right, we've got all this basics here. This is already pointing roughly in a southerly direction. We thought by doing this outside, we could at least deconstruct some of it so you could really see all the different components. So our first thing that we're going to do is obviously connect up our dish to our modem. So this dish needs to have been mounted south facing somewhere on the outside of your property. All right, and from it you're going to have a cable like this. It's going to have come through the wall, down a pole, maybe it's been mounted on your roof. All right, and that's going to get put firstly into the back of our wireless router here. So you'll see in the bottom here there are only 2 connections, all right, power and the connection to the dish. There's no Ethernet or anything like that. This is on the rectangular one that I have. The older circle ones, I believe, did have an Ethernet on the modem that came with it. But later on, we'll talk about what we need to do to extend this so that we can bring this out to an Ethernet port, and then that opens up a whole new world of opportunities for us. So I'm going to plug in now my dish to my router, all right, and I'm going to plug in my mains to the router now as well. All right, so if you've not already downloaded the Starlink app, then I would suggest that you do that ahead and ready to go, because that's where we're going to control all of the features from. So now we're all ready. What we're going to do is we are going to plug this into the mains and let this start up. Now, many people go, my router doesn't work. All right, this sort of looks like it should have some lights showing here, maybe when it's doing something linked with a few satellites, but it literally does nothing. All there is a tiny little white light between these two cables here that shows you that the modem is online. So look for that little white light. That is the only hope you're going to get. So now, what you want to do is you want to find your wireless connection. If you've got this out of the box, refurbed, or new, you may find a wireless connection called Stinky. So you want to connect to that first. You can change that name obviously later on. In my example here, I've already renamed it to Starlink Test. All right, so you want to join that and then start up your Starlink app, and it'll probably show you what it's doing. It maybe show you that it's searching or it's booting, and in a moment this is probably going to start changing location. Here we go. It's now going to start locating the closest satellites. Often find that this takes 4 or 5 minutes to truly get itself the best location. Just to help you understand, this subscription here I have is the RV, so the portable version is deprioritized, so during the daytime we don't get superb speeds, but obviously you can get several hundred megasecond on these depending on your location. So we're going to let that settle. While that's settling, all right, that is really all there is to this. The router isn't too bad, all right, it's just wireless. It will do 2.4 and 5 gigahertz. It's only a wireless 5 router, but since you're only going to get about 300 meg tops out of Starlink, and since Wi-Fi 5 will give you over 600, maybe 1,000 megasecond, all right, probably will do you. The problem you have with it is more how to extend it a bit further around your property, so we're going to help you with that. Mine now says that it's online. So I'm just going to jump into the app here and do a speed test. Our first speed test is going to sort of be a combination of our speed to the router and our speed to the dish itself. What I'm really interested later on is going to the advanced settings, because that's just going to check my speed from my phone to the router, and then from the router to the Starlink satellite constellation and back down again. So this has almost run the whole route. We'll just let that finish. I'm now going to click on the bottom and say run advanced test. This is now going to run our advanced test. Sometimes I've seen that this does realign itself. The dish, we're a little bit later now in the afternoon, so the location has probably changed very slightly. All right, there we can see we're getting a pretty good speed on our download, and we can see in a moment when it goes over to that Wi-Fi speed test that we're getting a fairly good connection here to our router as well. So that really is our starting point. All right, we've taken this, we've gone to the installers near me website, and we've got one of those guys to come out, fit this securely, run the cable down. There we go, it's lining itself again. Here we go, properly finding where it, lining itself up. They've lined it up, they've run a cable down from your roof through, and they've put one of these in your property. All right, so what is the next thing that we want to do? Before we get on to all of those bits that we want to be able to do with it, we need to have got ourselves the Ethernet adapter, all right? If you've not already bought this, you need to hop on the Starlink shop and purchase this. It's only about $60, but this is going to go in line, all right? And it's going to allow us to come out to an Ethernet port. That's allow us to take us to a switch and going to give us a whole more open world to the features and options that we can add to this. All right, so what we're going to now do is just going to go in the app, all right, and we are going to move to settings. In settings, we've got some advanced options that we can choose, and in those advanced options there you will see it gives you the ability to put this back into pass-through mode that you can see there. So when we've put this in place, and maybe we've got a brand new router, then we're going to put this into pass-through. You can't do this if you're just going to connect a wireless access point, because this is giving out your wireless connection. So this is the bit that still needs to be in line to make it all work. It's only going to work if you've got another router on here, because currently this is giving out your IP addresses. So once you are ready, you've got your new router in there, maybe it be a Ruijie, maybe it be an Asus or a TP-Link, then you can put this in pass-through mode, and this is becoming fairly dumb at this point. It's not giving out IP addresses. If you want to, and you're quite happy just to leave this wireless running for your peace of mind, then you can still put your new router in, all right, just connect it to the Ethernet port on here, and just remember that anything that's plugged into that is still going to be controlled by this router, But the great thing is that it's actually also the IP addresses, but most of it is being run still through your new piece of equipment. But I really would suggest that you do change it and put a different router in. All right, if you're not using this, and some of the common things that people need to do is need to be able to stow this, which means we need to be able to change something. So we're going to do this, so we're going to change the Ethernet cable. So we're just going to hit the word stow. It's going to ask us, do we want to stow it? All right, it's basically going to pack this away ready to be moved. And then we can disconnect it and put in our Ethernet cable. So like I said, we maybe want to, if you want to just keep this router, the router is going to be great for you. But if you want to extend it further, then we need to put our Ethernet adapter in line. So once we put this into stowed mode, we're just going to disconnect our power from here. And we're then going to take out our cable that's come down from our roof or wherever it's been mounted. And this is going to connect into this side of the Ethernet adapter. All right, and this gives us the ability just to extend on. And then we're just going to switch over to the back here and plug this here now into our router. All right, and we should now be able to power everything back up again and give it a few minutes. So now we have the ability to connect this to a network switch. All right, and if we just connect that to a network switch, this router is going to give out all of our IP addresses, and this is going to provide us the wireless. We could put another wireless product on here, and we could allow it to give out IP addresses. All of that's going to be just fine. But what you probably really want to do is plug this into a new router, all right, and build your network from there. Use the app like I've shown you to change this into bypass mode. You're still going to need to leave this on, but it's not going to be actually doing anything. So to use any of the other features we're going to show you shortly about how to extend your Wi-Fi across your property, you really need this Ethernet adapter, and really probably need a router. Unless this is doing well for you, still keep this for wireless in your property, and then you can come out to a switch and allow you to connect this to another building or something like that. You can see it's now realigning itself after we put power back in. All right, but hopefully that gives you a rundown of all the components that you get, how you need to basically put those together ready to use it. But hopefully the key takeaway before you head on to one of the next segments is really you need this adapter, and we're going to show you from there how to set it up in a way that will work to either increase the wireless connectivity in your main property, or how to extend it out to other properties. Okay, so you're saying, Paul, come on, I get the idea, I have got the Ethernet adapter, I'm ready to go. Surely, just get to the point. All right, so let's do this. We are going to talk about how to extend your wireless inside your property to start with, and then we'll cover how to extend it outside. We're going to be doing this with some Ruijie equipment to start with. Now, there are many ways to do this. All right, I'm probably going to show you one way. Many ways you can think this through. So we're going to look at several things. The first thing we're going to look at is the fact that you want to keep your Starlink router. Your Starlink router works okay where you are, all right, and you just need to extend. Maybe you've got a dead area at one end of your house, all right, and you want a cable to it. You're happy that you can run a cable up in the ceiling void or something like that. So you've got your Ethernet adapter already plugged in like I've shown you. All right, your Starlink router here is doing everything that it needs to do. It's already got its wireless. All right, and really what we're going to do is we're going to add another wireless access point on and extend this. So you're going to need a few items to make this work, all right? And I've got them all here. I've got a short length of Ethernet cable. We're using Cat 6A because it's got extra shielding. We've got a longer set of cable. This is about a 10 meter. This is going to allow us to put the access point on the roof. All right, we are going to need a PoE injector. All right, so if you're not sure about PoE takes mains input on this side here. All right, and then it takes a connection from our LAN, what we call LAN, so essentially your Ethernet adapter here. All right, and then out of this PoE port, you now have data and power. That allows us to not have to run a power cable, a physical power cable, or put our access point up close by the actual access point itself. We don't have a power socket up there. We can deliver it down an Ethernet cable, which means it could be up to 100 meters away from the original power source. Now, let's just talk about a few things. There's going to be a few influences for how good a quality this is going to be. I always say that wireless is about density, not distance. This is not about getting the most powerful access point. This is about getting enough access points to cover your area effectively. Why? Because in a lot of today's standards that we have for wireless, if one device is quite a long way away from the access point and gets a slow speed, it actually affects the speed for all devices connected to that same access point. So we really want to get a decent amount of density across the whole property that we're doing, so that no devices are ever right at the fringes causing effect or slowness for everybody else. Now, factors that affect that are the quality of antenna. So if you're in your property and you've got smart light bulbs, those type of things, that will make a big difference. So, you know, in my house, I've got maybe 40 downlights. That's 40 devices wanting to connect. So I probably want more access points closer to those than trying to find more powerful ones. All right, the makeup of the wall. So if you've got concrete, this building here has got Besser brick filled with concrete. That's going to probably, you're going to at least halve your speed through each wall that you go through, and that's maybe a good rule of thumb to take as well. So those are probably your key things that are going to define it: the quality of the device and the makeup of your building. So you might find that one access point plus your Starlink router isn't enough. We're going to show you some other options in this video as well to replace the Starlink router, but for the moment we're just going to talk about adding a second access point to give you boost down one end of your building. So we've had our PoE injector, we've talked about that. We are now just going to assume that we're just going to use our one Ethernet port here. We're not going to have any other Ethernet devices connected, and all we're going to connect up now is our Ruijie access point. This is an RAP2200, it's a Wi-Fi 5 access point. People say, well, wireless 6 is out now, let's go for that. Look, wireless 5 can take you up to almost a gig a second. In realistic terms, 600 megasecond. Your Starlink is probably going to max out at 300 if you're on a good day. All right, so this access point is going to be way over what you're going to need, and it keeps your cost point down. If you're going to have lots of devices and maybe you've got storage devices and other, maybe even servers, or you're sharing files internally, then maybe a slightly faster access point might be worth it, but we're going to use this. So let me grab that out of the box. All right, very simple. It has 2 ports on the bottom here. One of those is your PoE in, which is what we're interested in. This is ceiling mounted. There's a bracket here in the box and some screws. Got some other videos on exactly what you get in the box. The idea is that's just going to be clamped up on your ceiling there. Can be wall mounted as well. Just imagine that your signal comes out like this. All right, so if you've wall mounted it, it's coming out into your room like this. If you've ceiling mounted it, it's coming down like this. And if you have to put it on the bench, just imagine that it comes up more than it goes down. So if you've got devices that are on the floor, they're not going to get great signal from it. So how does this all fit together? We don't actually have to do anything with the Starlink router. All right, currently right now our Starlink router is sending out its normal SSID, Stinky, or whatever you've left, or you've changed it to a new one. Mine's called Starlink Test. We're going to take our short Ethernet cable. Our short Ethernet cable is going to plug into our Ethernet adapter. This is our data input. This is all of our, what we call our IP ranges and everything that are controlled by the Starlink router. That is going to plug here into your LAN port of your PoE injector. Your PoE injector might look different. There are different PoE injectors depending on the devices that you get, generally because of the power that's needed. This other side here, all right, is going to plug in, as you can see, into our mains. All right, and I'm going to go and plug that now in over to our power over here. Right, now like I said, this can be right up probably where your Starlink connection comes into your house. It doesn't need to be close to your access point. It's a short power lead, doesn't really have to do too much. All right, I would then suggest in this instance it's really easy. Run your cable through your roof. We're using we can supply these. We use pre-made Ethernet cables of many lengths. Like I said, this is a 10 meter, so maybe you're not going to go too far. Can mount your device here on the ceiling. We're going to take one end of our cable here and we're going to plug it in to our PoE port, and our other end now, all right, is going to get plugged into our PoE injector, all right, the one that says PoE out. All right, and once we've done that, we should probably find in a moment the light starting to flash on here. All right, so we've plugged everything in. Like I said, this will now light up. It'll start flashing fiercely for a little bit. Once it's booted itself, probably takes 2 or 3 minutes, it will go generally solid green. All right, you sometimes, depending on the PoE injector you get, you might get a small light on there. So right at this moment in time, this is now already broadcasting a wireless ID, and it's already rebroadcasting your Starlink setup. What we really need to do now is grab our mobile phone. All right, if you've not already gone on and created yourself a Ruijie Networks cloud account, go to the Ruijie Cloud website. All right, and once you've created that, I suggest you can do this on a computer or you can do this on your phone. All right, let me step you through the processes. You're going to do that. Start the Ruijie app up and log in, and then you're going to go to your project. Once you're in your project, you can click down in the bottom left-hand corner on Tools, and then you can choose Add Device. All right, once you've chosen Add Device, what we're interested in is the barcode that's on the back here. All right, so probably don't permanently have mounted this on the ceiling. So let's add the device. We're going to scan the barcode. All right, we can give it a rename if we want to, and we can now enter the project. Once we enter the project, this will probably can take up to about 10 minutes for this device to appear in the Ruijie Cloud. Once it's in the Ruijie Cloud, we have a few options in here to change the wireless name. We're going to show you how to do that. So let me go through and do that for you. Where to change the password, and because we're extending this Starlink router, if you like, we are using two different technologies. So once your phone or your laptop no longer is within range of your Starlink router, it will then hunt for the next access point, which could be your Ruijie that we've set up here. It will try and renegotiate. It's not ideal because it's not the same manufacturer, but it is a solution that's going to work for you. So probably we want to match the SSID up in our Ruijie Cloud for this to be the same as our Starlink router. And really, that is it. We have now added, and that access point itself will probably give you another 20 meters or so of coverage, even through a wall. It's a little bit more high powered, has a little bit, a few more features over it. You can see a whole load of those in the app. We're not going to go through all the features. At least you know how to change the name and the passwords. And depending on which access point you have, there are a few extra features in there, especially on the Wireless 6. So that is the really simplest way. As long as you can run a cable in the roof, you can now maybe go 15 meters into your building, maybe 10 meters into your building, put another one of these access points in. All right, if you want to add and create a little bit more coverage, all right, then you can add another access point. But to do that, we're going to need to introduce a switch. So let me show the options there to add a second access point and a switch. So we want to extend this beyond just using one access point. The issue that we have is the Starlink router has no Ethernet port, and our Ethernet adapter that we've purchased only has one port on it as well. So what we need to now do is we need to introduce a switch into the setup to give us multiple network ports. So in this instance, we're going to use a Ruijie. We're going to use an ES205GC-P, which is a PoE. It's a 5-port PoE switch. 4 of the ports are PoE, 1 is for pass-through. So this is what you get in the box. Got some other videos on this, but we're going to just take this out and get this set up. So here's our little switch. Like I said, it's got 4 ports on the front and a 5th port here. Doesn't give out PoE, and we're going to use that one to connect to our Starlink connection. So remember our little setup that we had here, our little PoE, all right? And if you were setting up this new, you wouldn't have the PoE in place. So we're just going to use our small bit of cable. So let's reset, if you like, where we were. Go back to a few moments in the video. We've got our Ethernet adapter here. All right, we're now going to take our 1/2 meter cable or whatever length cable you need. All right, and that's going to now be plugged into the uplink port, or port 5 of our little Ruijie switch. All right, that's going to now connect our Starlink. Obviously, we need to add power. So I'm just going to quickly get the power pack and everything out of here. All is in the box. Plug it together. Just going to run this over, plug it in. All right, and provide power to the back. So that's our starting point. So if we were doing this from the beginning and we didn't want to add one access point, then our first stage is to connect this. When it's connected, you'll actually see there's a green light appears on the switch, and then that shows that we're online. We then do the same as we did before. We need to make sure we've got a Ruijie cloud account. We're going to go into our Ruijie app and our project and add and tools, and we're going to choose add device. All right, so let's go through and do that. Let's now scan the barcode of the switch. All right, and we can add that to our project, and now we can manage it. All right, we can see it, see how it's all connected together. Now the great thing is, because this is a PoE switch, so remember that PoE is a combination of our data and our power, we actually don't need this injector that we had in here before, all right, because now our switch is going to do the job of that injector. So often people choose a switch, even if maybe you're only going to add one access point. It's for a few $100s or a couple $100s, it's worthwhile adding a switch, because maybe you've got a smart TV or you've got a main computer or an Xbox. You don't want to run on wireless, you want to plug it straight in. So what we're going to now do is we're going to plug this into port 1 of our switch. If we've done this from the beginning, we would have put our switch in first. All right, we scan that, add that to our Ruijie cloud, cabled that up to our access point, again gone into the app, scanned the barcode on the bottom and added that to our Ruijie app. So that's, if you like, back to our same setup we had before, but now with a switch in place. So now what are we going to do? We're going to add another access point. So what do we need? Another length of cable. I've got another 10-meter cable here. All right, we don't need any PoE injectors because the switch will power the 4 access points, but we just need another access point. It's going to need another, this is going to be another RAP2200, the same as the one we had before, and maybe this is going at one other part of your property, a little bit further away, but it's allowing you to get good coverage. We recommend that you probably put these in about every 10 meters or so, depending on the thickness of your walls and the areas you're trying to cover. So let's take out another one of our access points. We're going to plug the first end here, plug it into another port that we've got spare, into port 2. All right, and then we're going to take the other length of that cable and we're going to plug it into its PoE input port. You're going to mount that on the wall or the ceiling just like the other one. That light will busily flash away in a moment like crazy, which it's doing, and then once it gets all the way there, like the other one down here, it will go solid green. Once we've gone solid green, we need to do the same. We need to grab our app. All right, go into our project, go to tools, add device, scan our barcode. The great thing is that now we've already been in once and we've set up our wireless SSID name and password. The great thing is, as soon as we add this, it'll automatically pick up those details, and now we've got roaming between those devices. So as my phone moves or my laptop moves, it will pick the strongest device to connect to. So that really is a very simple start of how to extend your wireless while still keeping your Starlink router doing everything that it needs to do. All right, and showing you how to just do it with one access point, or to add in a switch if you want, and one access point, or a switch and 2 access points. So that is a great starting point for it. I'm going to go on in a moment and show you how to do this and set up an outdoor access point as well. That's probably the other question that we get asked. How do I extend my Wi-Fi outside? So I'm going to stick with Ruijie, going to stick with the Starlink router powering it all. All right, so doing it that way round, we're going to put up on that pole an RAP6262. It's an outside big access point, which I'll show you in a moment. The key for this is really that probably wants to be mounted up by your Starlink dish. It needs to be mounted above your building. All right, it's not going to give you generally Wi-Fi into your building. It might do if you've got a tiled roof, but if you've got a metal roof or any extra insulation in there, it's probably not going to give you coverage down. This is going to be to cover your yard, grass area, part of a paddock, your driveway, those type of things. All right, so we've got our basic setup going here. So let's add on an outside access point to complement all of this. All right, so we are just going to talk about extending this further to outside, getting your wireless outside of your property. Now, really the key thing we always ask you is, can you get a cable there? If you can't get a cable to the outside wall of your property, we do have some other options. We've only talked about so far wiring these. These can be meshed together, which means they repeat each other without the need for an Ethernet cable between them. It's a slightly different setup. I'm not going to cover that, I'm afraid, in today's video. It's a little bit more technology to learn about. So we're going to still just cover the fact if you can cable, this is the similar one, if you can get a cable from your router, maybe from your Ethernet adapter here, out to the outside wall of your property, all right, then this is going to be for you. So I've got a whole bunch here of 20 meter, well, this is 30 meters long of cable I'm going to use. We're going to connect that all together in a minute. We are going to use this beautiful Ruijie RAP6262G. Normally see this work best at about 5 or 6 meters above the ground, probably ideally mounted on your roof, probably on the same stem as your Starlink dish. So go to the installers near me website. Those guys will be able to install this at the same time for you. It's an omnidirectional access point, so you're going to get full 360-degree wireless coverage for your area. We are going to need to get a cable out to it, like I said. We're going to use a pre-made cable. And then really looking back at how we're going to do this, we can do this in 2 ways. All right, so remember, if we started back at a bit of the video, we just had our one Ethernet adapter and we went into a PoE injector. So if you're just looking to extend this and not do anything inside your property, then you could just connect directly your PoE injector with your short cable. And then the same as we did when we connected an access point up, instead of joining one of these up, you're going to wire it into this. Or if you're extending your network a little bit further, you got your little network switch and we're going to plug it into there. So for the rest of this setup, we're going to plug it in to that network switch. So I'm just going to go and mount this up on that cable there. I'm going to use cable ties. You guys are going to have it properly in the box. It's a proper metal set of brackets to mount this together, but I just want to show you it up on the wall and probably give you an idea. Then we'll just talk about the final bits of getting that connected together. Right, so I'm just going to show you, there is a small connector on here. This bit here is, if you like, our waterproofing for our cable. So we're going to take our Ethernet cable. If it's already pre-made, there are a few issues that you have with it being pre-made. You've got a little connector here, and you will need to cut that to allow you to get your Ethernet actual connector through it. So you'll just be able to clip it through like that. And it's got a plastic bung in the end here, which you need to pop out. All right, and again, you may need to put a cut through that to allow your cable to again pass through. Once that's passed through, we should be able to show you, it's going to come up all the way through here. My connector with this on the back of it won't, but if it's connected up all the way through, but once that's actually through, then we'll be able to connect it up to the device itself. So there's our cable set there. All right, obviously you're going to put it properly mounted, you're going to get somebody to install that for you, or you do that yourself. It's up about 5 or 6 meters. Now we have our end of our cable. So we have our 2 options that we talked about. One is a PoE. All right, so we've got our 20-minute cable. We're going to go into our PoE injector here. All right, and then from our PoE injector, we are going to plug into our Starlink adapter with our short Ethernet cable and our mains power into the other side of it like that. That's our one way of extending it if we're not using anything else. But obviously, as we've done this before, we're actually got this plugged into our little switch. We're going to add this into port 3. And in our little setup here, we've now got 2 access points running, and we've got our outside access point over there. We're going to, again, open up our phone. We're going to open up the app. All right, and then we need to scan the barcode on the bottom of the 6262. So it is probably best before you put this in its final position. All right, I put it there as an example, but you scan it's on the underside stem. So let me just go and scan that. All right, so now as long as that's all connected together, we should now find that it will appear in our Ruijie control panel. And because we've already set this up for the wireless SSID, the name of the network and the password, this will now be adopted into the same setup and pull that whole same setup, and you'll now have wireless connectivity on the outside of your property as well. So that is one way of extending your wireless in your property using access points, allowing you to still use your Starlink router for all your connectivity. All you needed was your PoE adapter and your switch if you wanted to extend it further. Next, we're going to look at how to do that by replacing this router and then essentially doing all of that same thing again, but with a Ruijie router instead of the Starlink router. All right, so I've just been quickly through and basically cleared the decks back to how we were before. So our Starlink router all plugged in, Starlink is working, Ethernet adapter in place. So in this one, we're going to say we want to extend the wireless inside our property, but we actually want to get rid of the Starlink router. All right, we want to have a little bit more control over what we can do with the devices. Maybe we want to do some failover with a 4G connection or with a current NBN. We want to do something that means that we maybe want to get a better coverage. This is what's going to be doing. We're going to be turning this into what's called pass-through mode or bridge mode. All right, so essentially we're going to be turning off the features of this controlling our network, and we're going to be moving it over to another router. Loads of different options today. We're just going to be doing this with a Ruijie because we're doing Ruijie stuff today. This is Ruijie in ES205GC-P in brackets T. Nice little router. In fact, that router has one of these access points built into it, plus a 4-port switch. So we get a lot of good stuff straight away to get going. So let's work through the basic process of how to make this all work. Let's get our little router out first. All right, these are really good little routers, 4 ports, little switch. They've got one of these access points built into them. They have several modes that they can run. They can run as a repeater. Now, we don't really recommend repeating, but we're aware that some people can't have walls. They can't run cables through those walls, maybe in a rental property as well. So these will work as a repeater. You halve your speed through each repeat. So if this starts at 400 meg, the next repeat will only give you 200 meg, but it's still a good speed. These can also work as an access point. So if you wanted to, and you wanted to get 4 ports of switch ports as well, so maybe you wanted to get some connectivity into your lounge room or your media room, so you could plug in an Xbox or TV, then you could use multiple of these in your house. So there's some good options. So firstly, we're going to take our short cable length that we had before. All right, it's going to plug into our Ethernet adapter, our Starlink Ethernet adapter, and it is now going to plug into the WAN port, all right, the yellow WAN port of this device. We're going to connect the power up. Let's plug that in over here. Now, once that's booted up, basically our Starlink router and our Ruijie router are all running at the same time, and that's okay, and some people will leave it like that. All right, they don't want to put this into bridge mode, and I totally understand it. Just make sure you've maybe got a different wireless access SSID network name for your Ruijie so you don't get them confused. So it's back to our Ruijie app. All right, so the interesting things, I put the stand on, the code you need's underneath that. So let me just take the stand off, back into your app, back into your project, tools, add device, scan the device, there we go, and it should say that it is, it gives you the option to go into the project. All right, and in a few moments, that router itself will now be ready in the Ruijie cloud. There's quite a few things that you can do with this. I'm not going to cover all of them. You want to go into the wireless section, all right, in the Ruijie cloud there. All right, so once you've gone in, the same as we did when we set up the access points, you're going to change the SSID to what you need to be. That's your network name. You can have multiple of those if you want. One for your kids, one for you, one for guests, one for you. And then we're going to change the password. Once that's set, you now have a second wireless access point running. Both of these are now running together, creating 2 separate wireless networks. So what I would suggest you do, once you're comfortable, you can now browse to the wireless network you have created here. So let me just do that in my settings. And I'm going to join my new router wireless connection. And I can just check that I can surf the internet. And once I know that everything's working, I can now go into my Starlink app. All right, and when we put this in bridge mode, we are going to lose some of the statistical information that we get from Starlink. So you'll need to weigh off whether you want to keep this here. You can't just, unfortunately, just turn the wireless off on it. You have to put it in bridge mode or leave it as wireless as well. So let's go into our Starlink. We're going to settings and advanced there. All right, and we now have the option to put this into bridge mode or pass-through mode. All right, so let's click that. The Starlink router is now no longer doing anything. Probably at this point, I would suggest I would suggest we now power this off. All right, and power it back on again. I just wanted to make sure it's now going to connect itself. It's going to bring everything else up. It's going to get an IP address from the Starlink setup on its WAN side, and now it's going to get itself up and running. You don't necessarily need to do the reboot that I've done. It's just a nice finish off so I know that it all works. So you now have a new router that's as good as, probably a little bit better than your Starlink router. You also have 4 switch ports at the bottom there. They're not PoE, but there's 4 switch ports. All right, so we can connect our TV and other devices together. If we have a building that we can't run any cables in, then you want to get another one of these. All right, now you need to be able to set this all up before you can do anything with it and turn it into a repeater. So what I can suggest, if you've only got your one Ethernet port, then take another one of these, plug it in the same way that I've done now, factory update it so it's got the latest firmware, add it to your project, and it will now have the same wireless details. You should now be able to take that, unplug the power, connect in your other one of these, the original one, and you should now be able to take this one that you've got. You should be able to unplug the power that you've got here, the network cable you've got here, all right, and it should continue to repeat your wireless and your connectivity. So you can now take that to another room. I suggest that they go every 8 to 10 meters, something like that, and you can repeat those through your property. Now, what if we wanted to take this and we wanted to expand it further? Well, we can do the same as what we did before. We can take a PoE injector. We can plug our PoE injector in. We can run a small cable again from our PoE injector to the back of our router here. And then we can maybe take our 10-meter cable that we've had before, all right, and run that out there to another one of these access points, just the same as we did before. And as that powers up, all right, you're going to scan the code on the back, and now this can go into another room. There are some options with these that we could just have the PoE injector delivering power. All right, so what we would end up with taking this to another room. We've plugged this into the PoE port here. We've plugged the other side into the mains. All right, this is up on our ceiling. We can use the mesh button on the top here, and this should allow this access point to connect. I would first start it up, probably connected to it, and then it'll allow you to be put somewhere else without a cable run between the two. All right, so that's one option that you've got. If you want to extend it again, if you want to add a second one of these, you take another PoE injector and connect it to your switch. If you wanted to do what we've done here with our outside access point, then again, we're going to take our PoE injector, we're going to take one end of the cable, it's not plugged in at the other end, let me just go and plug that in. So that's our outside access point we've run a cable to. Here's our PoE injector, going to run our short cable between here and the switch port in our router. All right, and now we've extended our wireless outside. So another option, we could expand this even further. We could take our network switch, all right, here. We could take an Ethernet cable from our network switch here, and we could plug it into one of our spare ports on our router. And now our router and our switch, this is providing PoE, but we've got another 4 ports here, and we've still got some ports on the back of the router. And this could then go out to our access point or some other access points and power them without the need for the PoE injectors. So there's quite a lot of options there, and I'm hoping that that's given you a run through of the basics of how to connect it up, what you need to do to configure it. And this is all about how to extend your wireless inside your house and get wireless outside using varying pieces of Ruijie equipment. We've got some Ruijie access points here, Ruijie router and a Ruijie switch, but I do hope that's been useful. There are many ways, like I said, to do this, but do bear in mind this is about density, not distance. You need more access points than less. The governing factors of the quality you're going to have is the size of the antenna and the quality of the equipment that you're using, and the makeup of the walls in your building, and the positioning of these. If you can cable between them, that's better. There are some options to what we do, mesh or wireless mesh, that can be done. You're going to lose half the speed through each mesh, but where you can't run cables, that's an option. So hopefully this has given you a whole bunch more ideas and being able to fill in some of the gaps of how to extend your wireless with Ruijie.